What is up, everybody? Purple and Gold Podcast, Friday, March the 13th. SEC play begins. LSU on the road in Nashville to take on the Vanderbilt Commodores. A 6 p.m. Central first pitch. We will preview tonight's game, preview the Vanderbilt Commodores, and the weekend as a whole. I want to lead off, though, with a lawsuit that has been filed by three reporters. Piper Hutchinson of the Louisiana, I believe it's called the Interrogator or Illuminator. It's the Illuminator, not the Interrogator. Chris Hakamoto, who's an investigative reporter at WAFB TV in Baton Rouge, and Todd Horn, who is the editor of Tiger Rag magazine. They filed a Freedom of Information request from LSU. They wanted to know how the $20.1 million in revenue share money was being paid out to LSU's athletes. That request was denied. And so on the basis of that request being denied, they are now suing LSU. So let's give a little background here, because I think context is very important in what I'm about to say. Let me give you the context, and then I will editorialize. The context is LSU obviously is a state-run university. There are public funds involved. Every budget is made public by LSU, including the athletic department budget every fiscal year, and every employee at LSU's salary is a matter of public record. The key word there is employee. On numerous occasions, through court filings and attempts by NCAA athletes to unionize, the courts have deemed that student athletes are not employees. The three reporters who are suing for these records have in some ways recognized that this is a gray area. So what this basically comes down to is this. When Congress passed the revenue share bill, every school got roughly $20.1 million that they have to pay out in revenue share to student athletes. What LSU released was the breakdown among their sports programs of how they divvied up that money. So it's 75% went to football, 15% I think went to men's basketball, 5% went to women's basketball, 5% went to all other sports. What these three reporters in essence want to know is how much money went to each individual athlete. So this is a lawsuit that I feel is going nowhere. It's a lawsuit meant to dredge up something that can either be embarrassing, could either be used against LSU, could either be used against the student athletes, and I'll get to that in a minute. So if you're an LSU fan, supporter, booster, season ticket holder, any of those things, and you find it interesting or salacious how much money Mansour Delane made, or how much money Stephen Milam makes, or how much money DJ Thomas on the basketball team makes, great. But you're not entitled to know that information. If you want to know how much money a tenured professor makes, if you want to know how much money the system president makes, if you want to know how much money, an athletic trainer makes, those things are a matter of public record. Those people are employees of Louisiana State University. So now let me editorialize and why I am furious about this. And I'm furious about the explanation that Todd Horn from Tiger Rag provided. This is something that can easily be used against LSU in recruiting, in future revenue sharing agreements. It could divide coaching staffs. It could divide players. It could divide an athletic department. I don't, look, we know each individual school is going to do things differently in terms of how they divvied up the revenue share money. So, for example, Mississippi State, we know, it's been reported, has given over $3 million to their baseball program in revenue share money, where LSU's baseball program is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $600K. However, Mississippi State didn't spend $40 million on a football roster and $91 million on a coach. That's their right, just like it's LSU's right to divvy that up. It is not fair to not deem the student athletes employees and then want to know how much the individual athlete makes. Now, what these reporters are saying is that because these are public funds, they want to know so they can report to their constituencies how those public funds are being paid out. Between you and me, though, and if there are kids listening, I'm sorry, that's a crock of shit. LSU has told you how the money is being divvied up among the individual teams. This is solely meant to be salacious. So if they can find out that DJ Thomas, the point guard, is making 3 times the amount of money as Stephen Milam is, they want to be able to point that out. They want to be able to have clicks. They want to be able to have people say, oh my goodness, Monster Milam's only making this amount of money, or oh my goodness, we only paid Flage this amount of money. Never mind the fact that this is not NIL money. This is not, individual endorsements and NIL deals that the players get. This has nothing to do with Flage's, rapping money, anybody's, acting money, whatever it is, right? This is simply the revenue share. So LSU allots each sport a certain amount, and then that amount is divvied up between the players. If this comes to light, it could conceivably be used against LSU in a variety of ways and for no good reason. There's no reason why the public needs to know anything more than what they already know. We already know the allotted amount of money in revenue share, and we already know how LSU divvies it up among their sports teams. That's all you need to know. Anything else is just for clicks. It's just salacious. It's just meant to demean a student athlete, or it's just meant to divide. So how can this be used against LSU? Well, if this lawsuit went through and if a judge determined that, yes, these are public funds, and yes, through a Freedom of Information Act, you should reveal this. Let's just say it's revealed. And again, I'm going to use Stephen Milam as an example because we're in baseball season and I'm making something up. If it's determined that Stephen Milam gets $50,000 from revenue share and Mississippi State shortstop got $250,000 from revenue share. And again, keep in mind, those two athletic departments, I just gave you the example, not apples to apples. You don't think that's going to be used against LSU on the recruiting trail? You don't think that's going to be used against, and again, I know Stephen Milam's draft eligible, this will probably be his last year anyway, but used against some player with eligibility left? Hey, come transfer here. You only made $60,000 at LSU. We'll pay you $75,000. When that kind of stuff is public, and it's not public everywhere, but it would be public at LSU, it creates a massive, massive disadvantage. I readily admit this is a new story. All of this came to light yesterday. I read through it. I read Todd Horn's piece on Tiger Rag. I have unfollowed Tiger Rag. I'm disappointed in Tiger Rag. When I was a kid, Tiger Rag was how you got your LSU sports news before the internet, before X. I can't believe they're a party to this. I can't believe they're doing it. I know he defended it in his piece today, saying it's not a lawsuit against the athletes. It's not a lawsuit against LSU football. It's a lawsuit against LSU. Again, I'll reiterate, crock of shit. This is meant to demean, it's meant to divide, and it's meant to be salacious. I'm not here for it. I don't think any real LSU fan or supporter should be here for it. If this winds its way through the courts and things happen that could change my mind, I'll reserve the right to change my mind. If it's found that LSU's doing something wrong, I can't imagine that. I'd be flatline stunned if they are. So be it, and we would deal with it. But just know this, that's not the purpose of why these three journalists filed this lawsuit today. So LSU and Vanderbilt tonight. Case and Evans on the mound for LSU. Connor Fennell on the mound for Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's ace, Austin Nye, is out this weekend again. They're going to start Wyatt Nadeau tomorrow. LSU's catching a big break, not having to face Austin Nye. This Vanderbilt team is quite different than the Vanderbilt teams of the past. Vanderbilt's teams of the past used to be based on pitching and defense. This team has hit 44 home runs. They bat over 300 as a team. Brody Johnston is batting 382. He's got 7 home runs. Holcomb has 10 home runs. He's batting over 300. This is an offensive group from Vanderbilt, but they've had a slew of pitching injuries. I believe they've got 4 pitchers who may be out this weekend, and I believe they've had at times 5 or 6 pitchers / players injured. In theory, LSU, as Wrigley plays with her toy as she always does once I start recording a podcast, in theory, LSU is catching Vanderbilt at the right time. Let's hope that that's true. My prediction is that I think LSU wins 2 out of 3. I think these will be 3 close games. It's very important for LSU to get off to a good start. Tonight, it's very important for Case and Evans to have command and control, limit the free passes, and keep the scoring down, and get LSU off on the right foot tonight. So LSU and Vandy, 3-game series. We'll be back maybe on Sunday to recap the Friday and Saturday games, get you a preview of Sunday. We'll also get you a preview of Selection Sunday on the women's side. Obviously, the men's season is over. So that'll do it for today. As always, enjoy your weekend, enjoy the baseball, be good to one another, and always, 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 go Tigers.